Hello, friends, and welcome to Ready, Set Reiki. I'm your guide, Tracy Searight.
And I am your co-guide, Millie Pampera. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. Today, we're very excited to introduce our first guest for our second podcast, Victoria Zaitz. Victoria she is all about intuition, empowerment, and awakening. She's a spiritual psychologist, medium, healer, exorcist, and awakening coach. She's also probably one of the most experienced Reiki individuals I have met throughout my journey. And I frequently look to Victoria for her guidance, input, and her knowledge and wisdom on all subjects Reiki. Victoria has a long history with why she gravitated to these career choices and life choices. She began at a very early age, beginning with poetry and visual art, then shifted into a nonprofit career. She worked for labor rights, women's shelters, and a crime victim assistance agency. And as a service learning director, a collegiate assistant for international affairs, and spent 2 years volunteering for AmeriCorps. She became an activist for LGBTQ rights and feminism at the University of Pittsburgh, where she received a BA in English writing. She has also completed her master's degree in human rights and women's study at Chatham College. Victoria, I know that you have come by this very early in life. So why don't you give us a little bit more background on yourself and, where you're heading, why you're in this, and what, brings you to us today.
Okay. Well, I do a lot of things in the spiritual realm, a wide variety of different things. So as you mentioned, I do energy work. So that would be shamanic healing, Reiki, many different things that I've incorporated into my practice. And I also teach Reiki with the person who taught me, which is a really fun experience. And then I also do intuitive work with people. So I'm a psychic and a medium, but I also have my master's in transpersonal psychology. So I incorporate, the woo-woo with the psychological. I tend to get a little bit deeper, than just, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm really here to dig deep with people and to help them recognize their patterns and to really understand, their purpose and what they're here for. And then I also help people to be more intuitive. So I have students for that. And I teach a wide variety of classes. I've taught over 50 classes at this point on various spiritual topics. I've taught in Lilydale. But yeah, it all started, with a vision that I had when I was 5 years old of the Mother Mary. So I grew up Roman Catholic, and I did not know that she was the Virgin Mary, though. I mean, I did she didn't tell me that, but I recognized her immediately, from my upbringing. And she told me that I was here to help other people and that, it was potentially a difficult journey, as, healers' journeys often are, but that I really shouldn't give up and that I should, really keep pushing forward and helping as many people as I can is really my goal. So I knew at an early age, I was always, extremely spiritual. I kind of dissed, Christianity at first because I went to Catholic school for 12 years and I had to question, I was a little kid who questioned all the nuns about what they were telling me. And I didn't necessarily believe it all. But then from there, I went to get involved with Eastern spirituality, Buddhism, and then I got into Wicca and witchcraft for a while. And then I got into yoga and Hinduism for a while. So I'm really this interesting amalgamation of many different faiths. I think that they all lead to the same place. So I really incorporate a lot of that into my work and into my own personal spiritual practice.
Fantastic. I know you're very passionate about guided meditation, and you draw from multiple spiritual traditions and training. So I really appreciate you sharing that. That's one of the things that I was drawn to in your trainings, and currently working with you also under your mediumship program. So I experience it firsthand. So I completely understand the personal passion you put into these and the level of experience you have. You have a good expertise with soul connections, Kundalini and spiritual awakening, and also paranormal experiences, investigations, mentoring and, psychic development and narcissistic abuse recovery, which is greatly appreciated because I find that, that was one of the traumas in my life that I needed to reduce and release in order to move forward. And it's been highly appreciated that, your trauma-informed therapeutic techniques with meditative stress relief and past life therapy have been extremely beneficial to myself. And one of the questions, though, because we are Ready, Set, Reiki, is, when did Reiki come into this and come into your life? And, why Reiki and how it enhanced or uplifted what you do?
Mm-hmm. So I was already really involved with developing my intuition. This was in my 20s, so probably about, 15 years ago or more. And I basically really wanted to expand what I was doing. I saw an intuitive person myself who told me basically that I was going to be doing intuitive work, teaching, and healing work. And those were kind of like the three pillars. And I was kind of like, what? No, I'm just going to do this intuitive work. And, I have a Gemini ascendant, so I am a girl of many passions. And so I couldn't really just choose one thing. And I think also when you are ready, the teacher appears, right? So I happened to get introduced to the person who taught me Reiki because we were all running in the same circles. And he really impressed me with his passion for it. He's been doing it for over 40 years. He's been doing transcendental meditation for just as long. And he really inspired me to get into healing. And he offered to teach me himself. And he taught me all three levels and beyond. And I went in there to his Reiki shares every Friday for many, many years. And, we became friends, and now we're teaching Reiki together. So that's how it happened. I think it's important that everybody have somebody who's kind of like beyond where they're at spiritually in order to help them to progress further. And he definitely is one of those people. He's one of the most enlightened people that I've ever met. We don't really meet so many people who are just so dedicated to spirit. And he is, it just kind of radiates off of him. And so that's what happened. And he just kind of dragged me into it. And I'm really glad that he did. I think it was, life changing for me to really feel that spiritual connection with the divine and be able to channel that through me was, life changing. And I think the initiations that he gave me, that's kind of how I see them, as the levels of Reiki as kind of like an initiations further into your own journey. And the attunements, really opened me up more. And that was around the time that my spiritual awakening started as well. So it all kind of went together.
Fantastic. And I've met the individual you speak of with you, and I have to agree. I find him fascinating and hoping to see him again someday soon here.
Yeah, we'll have him on too.
Yeah, that would be... I personally would love that. So, Tracy.
On board. Buckle up. All right, I'm ready.
Buckle up. So honestly, though, he's committed and he knows what he's talking about, and he's a very interesting and outgoing individual. So that's fantastic. So, one of the questions that Tracy asked me, and I like to bring forward because I find it not challenging, but it makes me work in different ways, a little bit harder sometimes, is what do you find is the common perception of Reiki? And do you agree with this perception regarding your client base and your work?
Yeah, so I think I took this question in a little bit of a different direction. I understand what the, normies, I guess, perception of Reiki would be, and I'm not too concerned with that perception. I mean, I think that you really need to experience energy work to really understand what it's about. And many of them are just very surprised, at what it's able to do. And they just don't really understand it very well. But when I heard this question, my thought was really like more in the inner circles of Reiki, what's the perception there? So that's what I was thinking about. And my answer there is, I think that it's been watered down, quite a lot in the way that it's been taught. And that's why, the way that I teach it and with my teacher is a really in-depth process so that people really understand what they're doing and they really feel connected. And I think that's kind of hard to do over maybe like a weekend or just a few hours of learning, each level. So our classes are 12, 15 hours, for each level. And we're one of the few people who do it that way. And the reason is because if you're just kind of learning it as a hobby, and you're not practicing, you're not really in there with it, it tends to get watered down. So plenty of people have come to me and said, they've had energy work sessions from people who, maybe just aren't really quite as dedicated to it, or just weren't really taught properly. And so when you try to do energy work, it might not be as effective. I think every good energy work practitioner should have their own spiritual practice. They should be meditating, they should be in touch with spirit as much as possible. So we do teach that too. So many people have told me that they just thought like it didn't work, or it didn't help them. Not me personally, but just other people that they've been to. And I think that's because it's been watered down, unfortunately. So people might think that it doesn't work when it really does work, when the practitioner has surrendered to this process and really allow themselves to be the channel instead of it becoming an ego-based thing, where they think it's they're doing the healing. I think a lot of healers kind of in the back of their minds still think that. And that throws everything off track. You have to leave your ego at the door when we're doing this kind of work. And you have to really want to be of service. And you have to believe in your connection to the divine, and that energy is going to come forward, through you. And so I think it's a matter of dedication, that people have to it. And if you go to people who are dedicated, you're going to see results. Not always the results that we expect to see, but it's, what's best for the person is going to happen.
Fantastic. So with that in mind, what does your client base look like, and what are the goals or intentions that you do and can work with?
So like the rest of the world, unfortunately, I think most of my clients are women. Although, I've seen that changing. I've seen men kind of open more to their divine masculine. So that is going on, and definitely not as quick as I would like it to happen. So most of my clients are women, but I have them, from all age ranges. And we absolutely work on any intention that they have. I think the most common things that people come to see me about is to just stress relief, and just to be able to relax and be still for a half an hour or an hour is a lot for some people, but very necessary thing. So they come for that. They come for releasing negativity. There's a lot of emotional release that happens on the table. It helps people to get things out that they've been holding on to. There's if they have specific health issues, I work with that. If there's emotional, mental types of stress, we work with that. We work on balancing the chakra system, pretty much everything. And any intention that you have, you can bring to Reiki, as long as you have a nice wide intention that allows for other things to occur. I don't think that we should be trying to say that someone comes to me with cancer, that they're going to be healed from cancer. Sometimes healing is not a cure, it's a mindset, or a shift in the way that you see things. So healing can happen in a lot of different ways.
Okay. Agreed. And along with some of this discussion, we have common perceptions, and you certainly have touched on many. There's also misperceptions, which you've begun to talk about, and we're exploring. Have you had to limit any particular area of your services, or push back yourself to find ways to educate others?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not really in my personality, as you can probably tell. I am 100% who I am out there. I've got no problems with it. And I don't try to make myself appear more normal or mainstream or anything like that, so that people would like me or maybe not be, intimidated by it. But I do think education is very important, so that people understand how it works and what people are getting into. So, I do that in teaching Reiki. And then just to your average person on the street, I give them a little elevator speech, about what it's about. And everybody's usually very intrigued by it. But I don't try to limit myself in any way. And even, just recently, I think it's more around my ability to help people release some of the negative things, so that's why I call myself an exorcist, which is kind of a scary, crazy word to use, but essentially that's part of what I'm doing. And when people hear that, they think of a split pea soup and heads rolling, and so people can be kind of really intimidated by that word. And it's not as dramatic as all that. Even your traditional Catholic exorcism is not as dramatic as all that most of the time. But I've had people tell me, like, I don't know, if I really, like, how are you getting rid of that? And I'm like, well, we're just definitely getting rid of it. It's not hanging out with me when I go home. So I'm not worried about that. But so people can be, a little intimidated by things, but I think it's just a lack of education, and as long as you educate people, they have a pretty good understanding, or at least an open mind, or they're at least willing to try,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know that symbolically, I just open the door and say, out, and people laugh, but then they relax, and but they still don't really understand. It's more of a sideshow sometimes for me. But I do understand. And what other tools This is one of my favorite questions, because this is one I find that people really come along and they're kind of looking for answers with this. What other tools do you use in your practice that you find helpful? And I noted here oils, crystals, sound, divination, being cards, pendulums, or however you look at it, candles, herbs.
Mhm.
Where what do you use? What's your preferences? And what do you think the value of using those are in enhancing and supporting your practice?
Right. So most of my, energy healing work is very sort of shamanic, but it's also, very intuitive. So, it depends on what I'm guided to use. I'm not a big crystal person. I do have a nice collection, but I don't feel drawn to use them quite so much. I use essential oils pretty much on every session. I have a couple cases of them. And I feel, that's really working with plant medicine. People don't think about it like that, but that's actually what it is distilled, plants. So calling in that plant medicine to help in a little bit of aromatherapy, I think can really not only help people to relax, but, each plant has its own specific uses and help in different chakras and areas of the body. So I really enjoy using that. So it's almost like a very sensual experience. And then, of course, there's a lot of smoke going on, especially if you need to clear things out. So, I'm using sage, Palo Santo, kind of a spray, like holy water smudge spray that I make myself. I burn different herbs, depending on, what kind of level of cleansing we need. And a lot of times the deeper cleansing, that stuff doesn't smell too great. It's kind of like, well, if the negative spirits don't like it, the person on the table probably isn't going to like it either. But, we use some of that too, to cleanse. So I'm big on cleansing. I'd say those are probably the biggest tools that I use. I mean, I definitely look at the music I'm using. So, the different hertz, maybe, the frequency of the music, I think plays into it a lot, helping people to get to the right state of mind. I use like a shaman's rattle, sometimes if I want to shake things up. But normally I don't use a lot of instruments or anything like that. So that's just what I've been guided to use, but everybody's different.
Absolutely. So, moving forward on that, you've had a long and well-informed and, career that you've been, passing these blessings on to others for some time. So what do you wish your younger self knew about your current profession? If you had
Yeah,
to,
I love this question because I know there's so many young people and I'm only getting older day by day. So, I got to pass all this wisdom down. That's how I'm starting to feel like now I'm entering my crone phase, and it may not look like it, but I am getting up there. And so, I think about this a lot, and I love seeing younger people really getting into this and trying to move forward and, make a career out of it. But I think there's a lot of misconceptions about that. People think that if you are meant to be doing this work, that it's automatically just going to kick in for you. And now we're going to be making like, 6 figures doing Reiki. And it doesn't really work like that. It takes a while to really get a business up and running to the point where it's going to be sustainable, for you. It takes about 5 years, really. So it's going to take time, and you have to spend that time to expand it, and you have to have a business mind too, I think, to be successful. You have to be an entrepreneur with it, and there's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes, not just the actual spiritual work that you are called to be doing. So there's a lot involved with it. I think people get kind of discouraged, putting in maybe a couple of years, and then they're just, maybe it's not really taking off. And that could be because a lot of people in the spiritual community just don't, know how to do those things. So I think in the future, I'll definitely be doing some type of mystery school, that kind of goes into basically everything about how to do this, the practical things, but also, the knowledge that you need to have to be doing this. Another thing that I thought about was the potential for burnout, and how much you really need to take care of yourself if you are helping other people. It needs to be a daily thing. So it took me a long time, especially during my spiritual awakening, when I was very much kind of like up in the upper chakras. I wasn't the most grounded person. I didn't even really think about taking care of my body, and I was just spiritually oriented. And so I had to really, I have a whole routine now. So I have daily meditation, exercise every day, energy cleansing every day. And that really just keeps me being able to do this at the level that you need to do it, when it's your job. So we take on a lot, as empaths, and most healers are empaths and just very sensitive people. We're literally taking that negativity in and transmuting it, through us. And we have to not hold on to that. And we have to know when we need a break, when we need to take care of ourselves, to put ourselves first. And there's always people, knocking on your door, wanting help from you. And you need to know when to say no sometimes, and when to really tune back into yourself. It's from that self-love and self-healing is where you're able to really be the best at this. So that's what I would tell people who are younger.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That really is also applicable to those of us who are older and newer to the industry. So we really appreciate your insight there. And also thinking back and some of the things you've already brought forward on this, what's something everybody in your industry should stop or start doing? What's your thoughts on that?
Okay. Everybody who wants to do spiritual work should be doing work on themselves. They should be looking at the shadow side, of themselves. They should be, looking at their ego. They should be in some type of therapy. They should be looking at their own flaws. I think that, we're our own little guinea pigs when it comes to understanding how healing works. And, in order to not make it an ego thing, or to not make it something that's not going to be as effective, you really need to do that work on yourself. So I'd recommend that everybody really make themselves a priority in order to be helping and healing other people. And people in the industry should stop making it about them. If everybody just focused on actually being a good person and treating people with kindness and compassion, wherever they find it, wherever the opportunity arises for them to do so, then that's going to make them a better healer. But just kind of thinking about it in an ego way is going to make you a distracted healer. So people need to focus more on their own spiritual path, and mastering their own lessons, I think, and really taking a look at themselves, because, sometimes the spiritual community is not so spiritual and not so much of a community. It turns into, a negativity a lot of times, because people aren't doing their work on themselves or, shadow work and things like that. So I think that that's really important. It's not all about love and light, it's about going into your own darkness and pulling out the wisdom and the gems. And you need to be able to do that, I think, to be authentic as a healer.
Mm-hmm. Very profound. And thank you. What's the biggest challenge as we move forward with this industry is facing today and potentially in 10 years from now? What's you're in business and you regularly are surrounded by others who are in this business and other businesses of wellness as well. So what's your thoughts and where do you see that heading?
Yeah, so I thought about this in terms of Reiki, and somebody had told me a few years ago that there was a movement to regulate Reiki in the same way that massage therapy is regulated, because a lot of times Reiki is taught, in massage schools, and that's where people learn it. And so someone got the bright idea that there's somehow some way to regulate Reiki, and that seems almost like funny to me. I don't see how we're really going to be able to do that. It's kind of amorphous, and nebulous. And most of the people who would be trying to regulate it probably don't really understand what it is even, or maybe even really believe in it. So I kind of see that as a bit of a bureaucratic nightmare. I really don't want to have to get a license to practice Reiki. Because, how does one really explain that? It's kind of like whenever I was chosen to do jury duty, and, I told him I was a psychic, and that was the end of jury duty for me. Because it's like, well, this lady is going to use her intuition to figure out if you're guilty or not. And, that's kind of crazy. We don't want to do that. So, I find it kind of funny, regulating Reiki seems strange to me. So that'll be interesting to see how that, all plays out. And I don't think that we can regulate it, but I think that we can, find who we resonate with and, who we want to work with, and just be discriminating and discerning about that, rather than trying to regulate it.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that, Millie, regulating Reiki?
I have heard about that. I've also, I'm on some job sites and I get some feedback back about frequently, requests for, hospitals, nursing homes, and hospices, wanting to work with that. And they have very specific requirements with regards to the levels.
They do.
You are and your certification. So I was even telling Tracy last night that I actually have a scrub jacket with the name of my business embroidered on it, in the event that moving forward I would like to do that. I want to fit in to the culture there and seem a little more legitimate when I would do that. So
yeah, I've done that for cancer patients and, various places. And I think that's great, that it's expanding into those areas, because it really helps your average person, to get an exposure to energy healing. So I think that's going to continue to expand. And, also probably in corporate areas, corporate wellness, I've done some work there as well. And, all it takes is one person in that organization, to have had an experience to say, hey, we need to bring this on, so our employees aren't so stressed out. We did that in a nursing home just recently. And, they walked out of there just, ready to go back to work in a way that you'll never see. It's like an amazing break in their day, and I hope that more people would open their mind up to bring it into their corporations, to schools even. I think that's probably where it's going to expand and more people will hear about it, which is good for us.
Yeah, I couple the hospitals that I do follow based on my past career. One is Cleveland Clinic. They do offer this to their patients with ongoing problems, maladies, cancer, stress, and all the other things. University of Pittsburgh Medical Centers also have centers for this type of, it's more volunteer. They're looking for volunteers more so than it's a paid position. But they're frequently out there advertising for these types of services. I'm very happy to see it. And, I believe that there is a future in it, which may be what's leading to some of the regulatory requirements that they're going to want to have. But for right now, I would be happy myself in the near future to volunteer to help with that, because my personal background and experiences led me to this because of caregiver burnout and, what I see a lot of people needing just to, move themselves forward a little more so than, turning strictly to, any kind of drug therapy or anything. But I also will promote heavily that this is not a replacement for Western medicine. It is in combination, and I can't necessarily heal somebody with Reiki, but I can give them the tools in order to heal, think clearly, and, want to be healed and want to participate in the process of healing. So I agree that there's a lot going on out there, and I'm glad to see it. So, looking at all that, what are some of the qualities you personally look for in a Reiki practitioner?
This is a great question too. So I would say, based on everything I've said so far, obviously, humility, because that is going to take the ego, out of the equation. Somebody who's service oriented, somebody who feels things from the heart, is a heart-based person. And then somebody who's had the proper training, somebody who's had, experience. So if they come across things that are out of the ordinary, they know what to do about it. I'd say the biggest thing is really having their heart fully in it and allowing themselves to put themselves aside to be the conduit for that energy. And then, of course, just how it feels, right? The proof is in the pudding and the results and how it feels. So, people should never go to anybody that makes them uncomfortable in any way, whether they are charging, exorbitant fees, whether they are, I've even had, people, I hear about people who've been abused, on the Reiki table, being touched inappropriately and things like that, which is just horrendous. I mean, what a betrayal of trust, that the client is giving you. So, there's all kinds of people out there, doing this, and you just need to be discerning and find the right one, that resonates with you. So have some discernment, look into their background, get recommendations from other people before you go in there.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's really great advice. And also, a lot of folks are out there interested in the field, interested in advancing in the field, improving what they do, what they bring to themselves and others, and starting businesses. So with respect to that, what training and books do you recommend for them so they can, continue to move forward?
So I recommend that you do not do an online Reiki training. Please do not do that, because, I think the Reiki training, it needs to be in depth. It needs to be not rushed. The attunements need to be delivered, in person, because that's how it's happened since the beginning of the lineage. My teachers, probably seventh or eighth in line from the original, lineage. And so, we do things very intuitively and open-mindedly, but at the same time, we like to stick to the tradition of, hands-on attunements that deliver the energy of that lineage hands-on. And so that you have the in-person, hands-on experience of energy work. I think that that's really essential, even though we all do distance work. And I'm not knocking that at all. It can work and be very powerful. But I think when you're learning, you really need to have teachers there to help you. And so, yeah, you want an in-depth type of training with people who are experienced. And you want to have a lot of practice. But I think practice is most important than any book you could ever read, because when we're reading books, we're in our head. And we're trying to, we think it's all about techniques and, where's my hands going to go? And, it's not. It's about opening up your heart. That is the biggest thing. So practice, meditation, all that stuff, I think, is better than a book. So, I've got a lot of Reiki books that I've read, and, there's just kind of like, so what to me at this point, because it's just a book. Like, you need to put this into practice. You need to know how energy works and how it feels, and and how your own intuition works with it. And you can't get that out of a book. You just can't. So make sure you have a good teacher, practice, and dedicate yourself to it. Casual practice yields casual results. That's what my teacher says to me, and I fully believe it.
Yeah, I think that's the key. Love that statement because it's on point. And yeah, we find, I know that Tracy and myself have found a few times that some books have been confusing and, either, from a personal point of view. So, we'd have to go deeper and deeper and deeper into and get more answers to resolve some questions that we would have. I would have, she would have. So that's really a good, good recommendation from somebody with a lot of experience and a lot of exposure and following. So as I get to the end of my questions, the one thing I'm going to be turning it back over to Tracy because she's gathered some questions from our audience prior to this. Where can somebody find you if they're interested in a session or training? I know myself, I know where to find you. I'll see you this Friday. I'm so looking forward to the to the Reiki training that you're going to be holding on things that basically you didn't know, or tips and techniques for advancing yourself in your own practice. But where can they find you and make contact with you if they're interested in either the sessions or the training? Or both?
Well, we are in the age of social media. So as much as it is not my favorite thing, that's where I put everything, so Facebook, Instagram, I even started to do TikTok videos, and I'll probably do, a lot more videos in the future. But I'd say social media is probably the best place to get updates about me and what I'm doing. You can go to my website, VictoriaZaitz, ZAITZ.com. And that's the best place.
Yeah, well, thank you. And we also have you linked in on the ReadySetReiki website, so they could also go there and click on that to get further direction on how to contact you. So thank you so much. Those are the questions that I had, and I really appreciate you taking your time. I know I want to turn this back to Tracy now because she is going to be more involved in some of this interactive part. So Tracy, if you're ready, please go ahead and take it.
I am ready, set Reiki. Thank you, Victoria, for answering those questions. So I put some information up on Facebook, our webpage, and asked people to reach out for some questions. And we had quite a lot of response. You are very popular, Victoria. So one of the questions that someone had asked was, you have a very impressive bio here, but what would you consider your superpower?
Oh, wow. Um, you know what? I think empathy is anyone's greatest superpower, including mine.
Mhm.
Because it really helps me to be able to empathically, I'm feeling what other people are feeling, and especially in energy work, someone could have an injury on their knee and I go there and I feel my knee hurts. You know how that goes. So I think that helps to really understand what people are going through and to really know how to help them best, intuitively speaking. So I think if everyone worked on developing their empathy, the world would be a much better place. And I think that is the best superpower that anybody could have, even above and beyond any of my other abilities. Those are all, God given, but anyone can develop them, and it all comes from the heart.
Perfect. Another question from one of our wonderful audience followers is, what is the one item that you always carry on you, or a piece that you carry with you either all the time or when you're doing your line of work?
I love that question too. So I actually have a necklace that I wear quite a lot when I do energy work. So it's kind of like different talismans, right? So, and this involves all of the energies that I work with, that I'm calling in to do the energy work, because it's not me doing it, right? So I have a connection with Mother Mary. So I have like a Fatima, pendant, and pendants of her. I have my spirit animals on there. So I have a white tiger pendant. I have a Benedictine medal. So that is something that exorcists wear when they do cleansing work. So it's kind of like a combination of Christian mysticism, shamanism, saints. I work with all of those energies. So as a form of protection and also as a way of invoking them, I'll often wear that necklace. So, I think that can be very powerful to put something on your person, reminds you of the energies that you have with you.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And you know what? As you're talking, right next to your picture as you're on display, I have Mother Mary. She's been right next to you.
She's been here the whole gosh
She's been
time.
like she's right next to you. So how beautiful. I love it. I love it. Synchronicities.
Absolutely.
All right. And then our next question is, what advice would you give to someone who is kind of either under a spiritual attack or maybe has a hex on them? What advice would you give to them?
Okay. Well, I would definitely have them come talk to me, individually, because every situation is different. I go into people's houses and, clear negative entities and things out of homes and businesses as well. But for the person, under spiritual attack, a lot of times people think that, they have done something to bring this on, and the fact is that if you're aware and you're working in the light and you're helping other people, in particular, you're going to get attacked. And I get attacked all the time. I've been attacked my entire life, whether it's by, negativity through other people or literal, entities and things like that, which has really toughened me up and given me a great deal of inner strength. But, some of the great saints like Padre Pio, he was attacked by demons every day of his life. A lot of people don't know that, and it doesn't make you a bad person, to be under spiritual attack. So there should be no guilt, about that. It's more thinking of like, well, why are they attacking me? Why are they trying to bring me down? And it's probably because you're open. And, negative entities have a way, it's like a moth to a flame, they have a way of finding people who are able to perceive them. And then they try to stir up a lot of fear and negativity, so that they can feed off of that energy and really make your life worse. They don't typically cause problems for you, but they try to take your problems and expand them, and make them way worse than they are. And they feed off of that energy. So the best advice is to not give it your fear. And that's way easier said than done, but we have to recognize that calling on our higher power, that gets rid of the situation. In a lot of cases, evil and negativity is never as powerful as good and as love and as God is powerful. And as long as you know that, and you truly understand that you are made in God's image and that God is with you and will protect you, that's what you have to call on, because you're not going to get rid of it. God is. So you call on your higher power to do that, and you don't give it fear, and you're very assertive, and you're basically just like, get out of my space. I'm not going to tolerate this. And they'll just find somebody else to bother, who's a way easier target. So that's general advice, but depends on what you're dealing with. And I'm more than happy to speak to anyone to help them get relief on that, because I know how difficult it is and how isolating of an experience it is. And you don't know who to go to. You're going to go to your priest, and they're going to laugh in your face probably. So you got to have somebody to go to. So I'm definitely here for that.
Perfect. Another question that we have is, how do I know the difference if it's my intuition or my imagination?
Oh, yeah, good question. So your intuition is always going to be on point, accurate, helpful, loving. It's going to guide you in the right direction. Sometimes our guides can be a little bit pushy. They can be a little bit bold, and kind of getting you to understand what's going on or what you need to do, especially, if you're really not listening. So, you really have to know that that's good information, and that's coming from a good source. But your intuition often feels like your imagination, because it's working with the right side of your brain. And so it all comes from the same place, so you may feel that it feels the same. If I ask you to imagine an apple, you're creating that visualization deliberately. Whereas if I ask you to sit in a meditation and ask a question and receive the answer, you're not deliberately, visualizing or creating information. And the imagination is a creative process, not a receptive one. So intuition is very receptive. And that's where you want to go in order to get guidance. Sometimes it'll hit you, out of the blue, but really you want to go into a nice meditation and get the guidance that way through, your connection to your higher power. So it can feel very much the same, even though it's not. So it's kind of hard to tell, really sometimes. But just remember that imagination is active, and intuition is receptive.
Okay, perfect. And this is our last question. So seeing and hearing and knowing what you know, seeing that view from the other side, are you beyond the veil, or are you afraid of dying?
I think everybody's afraid of dying, no matter what they know or think they know or what they've seen on a certain level, because it is a biological process, and everything in your body resist this for as long as you've been alive. Every cell in your body it has been resisting death constantly. So I think it's more just like by a law. I'm sure everybody's a little bit afraid when they know that they're facing death, and I think that that's just kind of a normal thing. So I anticipate that probably happens for most people, except the books that I've read on some of the Tibetan masters and yogis and ascended types of people. They have amazing deaths. They're so they have enlightened death. I don't know how they do it, but they have no fear whatsoever, because they've felt that divine presence and they know that's where they're going. Now I felt that too, and I know that it's there, and I talk to dead people and hear all about it, all the time. But at the same time, I'm a person who's always been very questioning of everything. And I never claim that I know anything, 100% for sure. I have a pretty strong faith and belief based on my own experiences. So I would say, yeah, I'm realistically, I'm sure I'll have a little bit of fear when I die, but also I know what's in store for me. I know that I've made a great effort to live a good life and to be a good person. So and that way I don't have much to fear. And I don't think it's going to be God judging me. It's going to be me judging me, so think about that. You want to make sure you're living your life in a way that if you were to judge you at the end of your life, what would you say about yourself? So I think that comes into play, a lot too. Plus, I've got some people on the other side that I love so much that I can't wait to see. And I know that's what I'm going to be thinking.
Yeah. Yes.
Because I can't wait to see them again, and I know I will, because love and that connection is eternal. So I think it'll be a combination of a lot of interesting things. I'm sure I won't be, enlightened by the time I die, so it won't be that graceful, but I probably have a little bit more inside information than your average Joe. That helps with the fear of it. Obviously I don't believe we're just going into nothingness. So that helps a lot.
All right. Well, thank you so much for answering our questions, Millie. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay. And Victoria, thank you so much. And please feel free to stick around with us while we do our meditation. That's the, I guess, the practice portion of the show.
There you go.
Yes, but I must actually go. So I hope that your meditation goes very well. Enjoy, everyone. It's the perfect thing you can do. So I will see you guys later.
Thank you so much.
Bye now.
Bye.
Okay, so before I get into the meditation, folks, I just want to let you know that we are adding a new premium to our podcast. Victoria is going to be offering a free, no charge to you, 15-minute reading, which is private and personal. So you're asking yourself, wow, how do I get that? Perfect. Please go out to our Facebook and Instagram sites and, like, comment, and share. So we're going to gather up all your names and we're going to randomly select somebody to receive this. We'll be in touch with you, and we're going to look forward to getting you together with Victoria. We're hoping to have her back on the show. She's generated a lot of popular questions and interest. Also, all of these meditations, if they're not, they will be linked. You can link to them on the resources on my website. So calmandnaturale.com. And, if you can't hang around with us now, but please do if you can. So one of the things I wanted to make sure I was bringing to us is, again, one of the best things you can do with all of these modalities is the meditation. This allows your mind to ease up on you, give you some opportunity to open up and to really, give the self-care to your body that you need in these times of stress, especially when the holidays are coming up again. We have Easter, spring breaks are happening. A lot of, life stresses are going to be going on soon. And, between work and children and community activities and everything that you're involved in, you may be feeling that pressure. And I don't want to say a little overwhelmed. You feel a lot overwhelmed. So we want to make sure that we're offering you some help, support, and guidance to go ahead and, take care of yourself. Self-care is so important. Please practice it frequently. If you can't, I always say to people, 5 minutes is better than no minutes. Always feel free to just sit down peacefully and, clear your mind and reflect. It'll be like getting an extra half hour of rest. And also a little plug for Tracy. She has some wonderful yoga sessions that really lead you down this path of refreshing and relaxing. And I personally take advantage of them. So let's get started. Thank you so much. We're going to experiment with a few things today with respect to some music and some sound background. So bear with us. We promise by the 10th podcast, we're going to be okay, maybe not perfect, but we're going to at least have a little bit more knowledge as to what we're doing. So let's get started. Again, thank you for joining us. Right now, we're all going to go together on a mini vacation and using our deep inner stillness. Please take a moment and find yourself a quiet place to sit. Silence your phone and dim the lights. This is your time, a time for total relaxation and inner stillness. Take a moment to make sure that you are warm enough. Seated comfortably. Rest your hands loosely in your lap or by your side and close your eyes. Take a long, slow, deep breath in. Hold it for a moment and then slowly exhale. Following any tension, allow this to melt away as you gradually relax more and more and more deeply with each breath. Take another long, slow, deep breath in. Hold it, and then exhale. Empty your lungs completely when you breathe out. Take a third deep breath in. Take your time. Hold it for a moment, and then let it go. Already, you are beginning to drift into a state of deep relaxation. Continue to breathe slowly and gently. Just relax. Now bring your awareness to the top of your head. Sense or imagine a feeling of relaxation beginning to spread down from the top of your scalp. Let the muscles in your forehead and temples relax. Allow your eyes to relax. Let your cheeks and jaw soften and let go of all tension. Now this peaceful feeling flows down your neck and deep into the muscles in your shoulders, soothing them, releasing them. Just breathe. Allow this peaceful feeling to flow through your arms, relaxing and soothing all the way to the tips of your fingers. As your body relaxes, Your mind relaxes. Your thoughts become weightless, like wisps of clouds on the breeze. Now the peaceful sensation flows through your chest and your stomach. Feel how this area gently rises and falls as you breathe, slowly and deeply, soothing and relaxing. Turn your attention to your back and feel this relaxing sensation flow all the way down to your spine. Now the peaceful feeling flows through your lower body. Relax your buttocks, the back of your thighs, and the front of your thighs. Feel all these large, strong muscles become loose and relaxed. Soothing feelings flow down through your knees and into your calves. Your ankles relax. Now your feet relax. Your entire body is soft, calm, and relaxed. Now this time, you're ready to leave the external world and go on your inner journey, a journey to a place of deep inner stillness. Imagine that you are standing on a white sandy beach. It's early in the morning and a light, hazy mist surrounds you. The sun is rising slowly. You can feel the warm orange light on your face and on your body. You're feeling content, at ease, and relaxed. The sand beneath your bare feet is soft and warm. A light breeze caresses your face. This beach is deserted. You have it all to yourself, and you have all the time in the world to enjoy it. Listen to the relaxing sound of the ocean. Its waves are breaking gently on the shore. Begin to walk slowly through the mist towards the water. As you do this, you see a small boat is waiting for you. The boat is comfortable and steady. Notice that it is tied to the shore with a strong rope. Walk to the water's edge and step into this boat. You are feeling completely at peace, completely safe, and completely relaxed. When you are ready, untie the rope and let it go. Relax and allow the natural currents of the ocean to guide you away from the beach. Your boat drifts smoothly, rocking ever so gently in the water. This rocking motion relaxes you even more deeply. The sun is now higher in the sky. Its light has gathered strength. Notice that the mist that surrounds you is beginning to evaporate. You can see the air becoming clearer and clearer. Watch as the sun's rays dissolve all the mist. Now you can see clearly in all directions. It's as though a veil has been lifted. Sparkling ocean waters surround you on all sides, and in front of you, a small island comes into view. Your boat floats closer and closer to the island, sliding slowly and effortlessly through the water. The island is drenched in sunlight. It is covered in tropical palm trees that sway gently in the breeze. Your boat glides slowly forward, and it comes to rest on the shore. You have arrived. Step out of the boat and take a moment to appreciate this place of sublime beauty. Exotic birds dance from tree to tree, and brilliantly colored flowers grow in abundance. The air itself seems to shimmer and vibrate with pure, luminous energy. You can hear the sound. It is soothing, of the wind as it passes through the trees. In this place, you are free from all memories of the past. You are free from all concerns about the future. You are free from all responsibilities. This is a place of total peace, and it is all yours. You notice an opening between the palm trees. In the center of this opening, there is a narrow path that leads deep into a rich green forest. Begin your journey into the heart of this forest. Follow the path as it meanders between columns of ancient trees. This forest seems familiar to you, like the memory of a pleasant dream or a place you visited as a child. Walk deeper into this forest. You are guided by the force that you can trust, and that makes you feel safe, nurtured, and still. You have reached the very heart of the forest. Before you is a shimmering pond of crystal clear water, a pond of perfect stillness. The pond is round, and it brims with pure spring water. Notice that the water is perfectly still like a mirror, free from even the slightest ripple. A ladder with 3 steps leads down into the water. You decide to bathe in this magical pond, and you undress. As you take the first step down into the pond, you notice that the wind has eased. All the trees have become motionless. As each moment passes, the world around you becomes more and more calm, and you yourself become more and more still. As you lower yourself onto the second step, all the birds in the forest become quiet. Their silence is deep and reverent. Now, lower yourself onto the third and final step and glide into the water. Feel yourself sliding into a deep state of relaxation. In this pond, your thoughts simply melt away. All is still and silent. The only sound that remains is the sound of waves far off in the distance. Your mind seems to expand. You feel timeless, vast, empty, relaxed. Oh, so very relaxed. For the next few minutes, enjoy this experience of solitude and inner silence. When thoughts arise, simply let them go and return your awareness to the sound of the waves. When it's time to return, I will guide you home. Now slowly, ever so gently, bring your awareness back to the pond. You are deeply relaxed and refreshed. Now it's time to make your way back home. Slowly begin to climb the ladder. As your foot touches the lowest rung, notice how wonderful your body feels. You feel light, clear, and happy. As you step up the second rung, the sounds of the birds returns. Now, step up to the first rung on the ladder. As your foot touches the step, the breeze returns, and the trees begin to sway again. You dress yourself and follow the path back to your boat. As you arrive back to the forest entrance, your boat is waiting for you, just where you left it. Walk to the water's edge and climb into the boat. You feel relaxed and secure. You know that your boat will bring you home again safely. Your journey is effortless and calm, like all the moments in your life, effortless and calm. Relax and allow the current to guide you. You arrive at the beach. You step out of the boat and onto the sand. You are home. Slowly become aware of the room in which you sit. Wriggle your toes and fingers. And when you are ready, slowly open your eyes. Take your time and give yourself a few minutes to adjust before you get up. Welcome back. You are loved and appreciated. And thank you for joining us on this mini vacation. Please repeat often to yourself when you are feeling the pressures of everyday life. I am enough. I am loved and appreciated. I am enough. And please remember, to see beauty in all things is a choice. Please choose wisely for your own well-being. Blessings and best wishes as you continue on this journey of peace, light, and love. Namaste.
Thank you so much for joining in today with our Ready, Set, Reiki episode. My name is Tracy Searight.
And I'm Millie Pampera.
And we hope you enjoyed our show. So next episode, Millie, who's going to be joining us?
We are going to be joined by none other than Mia Racinko, both of our masters. She was our mentor masters for our teaching certificate and certification, and I'm very excited to have her here. So she's going to be bringing a lot to us. Please go on our website. We've updated information there daily, and her bio and contact information is available there.
And thank you so much, everyone. This has been Ready, Set, Reiki.